Keep talking to me, Marisol said. Follow my voice. The tailor's room went quiet. Nico Bellini, the man who had ordered her budget cut that morning, went completely still beside the mirror. 15 years earlier, smoke had swallowed his father's workshop, and one unseen girl had led him out with those exact words. Now that voice belonged to the plus-size seamstress his staff had just mocked as a nobody who only fixed other people's mistakes. Marisol did not know why the feared Bellini boss was staring at her like he had seen a ghost. She only knew someone had replaced the lining in his ceremonial jacket. Someone wanted her blamed for it. And the gala that could hand his empire to the wrong man was 36 hours away. Nico recognized her voice, but he had not yet recognized the woman she had become. Marisol stood behind a low marble-fitting platform with a pincushion around her wrist and a row of hand-finished jackets hanging behind her. The room smelled of pressed wool, cedar, and the bitter espresso that had been sitting too long in a silver pot. Inside, the family that owned half the block was preparing for a gala that could decide who controlled the other half. Marisol was pinning the sleeve of a midnight black dinner jacket when Luca Bellini walked in without knocking. He had the polished smile of a man who never carried a box, but always took credit for what was inside it. Two junior staff members followed behind him, both holding tablets, both trying too hard not to look nervous. Luca glanced at Marisol's work table. Still fighting with that thing? Marisol did not look up. I'm correcting the shoulder. The shoulder looked fine. It looked expensive. She smoothed the cloth with the flat of her hand. Fine is different. One of the junior staff members gave a quick laugh, then swallowed it when Luca did not. Luca moved closer to the jacket. It is a dinner, not a coronation. Marisol slid a pin into the sleeve seam. It is both. Luca tapped the tablet in his hand. I came about staffing. Marisol kept sewing. You came about budget. Same thing. No. She clipped the thread cleanly. Staffing is people. Budget is the number you use when you do not want to say people. His smile thinned. The family is consolidating. The family is cutting. The family is preparing. For what? Luca's eyes traveled over the room, landing briefly on the apprentice at the pressing station. Efficiency. She set the jacket on the stand and turned to face him. What exactly are you cutting? Your extra hours. The extra hours that finish the work you keep accepting. The extra hours that make this place dependent on one employee. Marisol's mouth tightened. Then stop sending emergencies at midnight. Luca gave a small, pleased laugh. There it is. What? That attitude. The apprentice at the pressing station stopped moving. Marisol heard the steam iron hiss. Luca stepped nearer, lowering his voice as if he were offering advice. You do good work, Marisol. I know. But you forget your place. Her fingers closed around the measuring tape at her waist. And where is that? He looked at the seamstress table. Here. Not at the gala. Not in the meetings. Not in the room where decisions were made. Here with the pins and the scraps and the women who fixed what powerful people broke. Marisol nodded once. Then I will stay here and make sure the decisions you people make do not embarrass you in public. For the first time, Luca's smile disappeared. Before he could answer, the atelier door opened again. Every person in the room went still. His gaze traveled from Luca to Marisol to the unfinished jacket. Is it ready? Marisol looked at the clock. It will be. Luca lifted his tablet. We were discussing costs. Nico's eyes remained on Marisol. Are costs a problem? They will be if you cut the people who know how to keep this place running. Luca gave a measured exhale. Marisol has a talent for making every practical decision sound personal. Marisol met Nico's gaze. Practical decisions become personal when the same people always pay for them. He only said the budget holds. Luca's jaw moved. Nico. The budget holds until after the gala. It was not an apology. It was not even an answer. But it was enough to make Luca step back. Of course, he said. Then he turned toward the door. As he passed Marisol, he paused beside her table. Do not confuse a delay with a victory. She waited until the door shut behind him. Then she looked down at the dinner jacket. Her hands did not shake. They had learned a long time ago that shaking did not mend anything. Nico removed his overcoat and placed it over the back of a chair. Did he say something to you? Marisol lifted one shoulder. Nothing new. He should not speak to you that way. He has been speaking to me that way for 6 years. Nico's face changed by less than an inch. That was how he showed discomfort. Why was I not told? Because people who say they will handle things usually mean they want less noise. I do not mean that. No, Marisol said quietly. You mean you did not know. He accepted that without defending himself. It surprised her more than it should have. Nico moved toward the fitting platform. Luca says we have a problem with the gala accounts. Luca says many things. Do you think he is wrong? Marisol picked up the jacket and held it toward him. I think you should put this on. He took it from her. The room was suddenly too small. Nico was not a man who needed help dressing. Still, when he slid one arm into the sleeve, Marisol stepped close enough to guide the shoulder seam into place. Her knuckles brushed the fabric at his collar. His breath caught, once, not because of her touch, because she said, without thinking, "Keep talking to me." The words came out soft and automatic. She had said them to a frightened apprentice 2 minutes earlier when the iron had sputtered steam. Now she said them again as she adjusted the collar. "Follow my voice, and do not move your shoulder." Nico went rigid. Marisol looked up. His eyes were on her face. Not her hands, not the jacket, her face. "What is it?" she asked. He did not answer. For a moment, something unguarded passed through him. It looked almost like fear. Then the atelier door burst open. The apprentice stood there, pale and breathless, Mrs. Reyes. She held out a sealed garment bag with both hands. This was delivered from the storage room. Marisol took it. The tag bore Nico's name, the gala date, and the proper family crest. But the stitching along the bottom seam was wrong. No one else in the room would have seen it. The thread was too bright. The stitch was too fast. And tucked inside the hem was a narrow line of blue-green silk that had no place in a Bellini garment. Marisol felt the blood drain from her face. Someone had altered Nico's jacket, and they had used her workroom to do it. Marisol did not touch the blue-green silk with her bare fingers. She pulled on white cotton gloves and lifted the altered hem toward the window. Nico watched her in silence. The apprentice watched Nico. That was why Marisol noticed the door had not clicked shut after Luca left. "He is still in the hallway," she said. Nico crossed the room and locked the door himself. "What am I looking at? Someone wants you to think this jacket was finished here." It was. The shell was. She eased the bottom seam apart 1 careful inch at a time. The lining was changed after the jacket left my room. Nico's face settled into the stillness everyone around him mistook for calm. "Changed by whom? I do not know yet. That silk means something. It means whoever did this did not understand what they were holding." Marisol held the narrow strip against the black wool. The color looked green in window light and blue when she moved it. "My mother called it river glass." Nico studied it. "You knew my father?" "I knew the work he respected. For years, Antonio Bellini had sent old coats to the small neighborhood shop where Marisol's mother repaired clothes. He never learned her mother's name. He only knew every damaged cuff returned stronger than before. After Antonio died, the Bellinis bought the shop's contracts, its machines, and finally its workers. Marisol came with the last group because she was 23, responsible for her mother's rent, and had nowhere else to take her skill. The family called it an acquisition. The women who lost their names over the old shop door called it survival. "This silk was used in your father's private order system," Marisol said. "He marked trusted work with it. Then why is it in my jacket? Someone cut it from an older garment and used it to imitate that system." She tapped the bright thread beside it. But they rushed. "The original stitch was 3 passes to the inch. This is 6. It is a shortcut made by someone pretending not to be seen." Nico looked at the seam. "Could this ruin the gala? If this lining is meant to certify something, yes. It could ruin more than the gala." He picked up his phone. Marisol caught his wrist. "Do not call security." His eyes dropped to her hand. She let go. "Why not? If this happened inside the building, a visible search warns the person who did it." Nico waited. "What do you need?" "The delivery ledger. You have it?" "I have my version. I need yours. The family records are upstairs. Then you need to take me upstairs." The Bellini offices occupied the top floor behind glass doors Marisol had never been allowed to cross. Nico held the elevator for her. She stopped on the threshold. He noticed. "I can send someone." "No." Her chin lifted. "You asked what I need. I need you to take me there." He stepped aside. "Then come with me." The elevator doors closed. At the 9th floor, Nico said, "You were in the fire." Marisol kept her eyes on the numbers. "Yes. How old were you?" 17. His voice was quiet. "The girl who spoke to me was younger than I was." "You remember that?" "I remember the smoke under the office door. I remember my father calling my name. I remember a voice telling me not to run." His eyes met hers in the steel reflection. "I remember following it." Marisol swallowed. "I found you under the cutting table. You were coughing so hard you could not answer. You kept asking where your father was." Nico's jaw tightened. He did not make it out. "No." For a few seconds, neither of them moved. The elevator bell sounded. Nico did not step out. "Why did you leave before anyone saw you?" Marisol gave a small, humorless breath. "Because nobody was looking for a girl from the back room." His gaze lowered. "I should have asked." You were half-conscious. "I should have asked anyway." Marisol could not afford the tenderness in his voice, so she turned it into work. "The ledger," she said. Nico led her through the glass doors. His executive assistant rose from a desk of black marble. "Archive room," Nico said. "Now." The assistant hesitated. "Mr. Luca said no one is to access the gala files until his reconciliation is complete." Nico stopped. "Did my cousin give that instruction in writing?" "Yes." "Forward it to my phone." The assistant nodded. Nico looked at Marisol. "There is your answer." "Not yet," she said. "It is only a door, but it is a door he wanted closed." The archive room was cold and windowless. Nico opened the gala cabinet with his keycard. Marisol found the delivery folder in seconds. The official ledger showed the jacket leaving her work table for secure storage, then leaving storage for a courier pickup that never happened. She traced the times with one gloved finger. "Here." Nico leaned beside her. "What?" "The jacket was logged out at 1:12 a.m. I was told it stayed downstairs." It did. She pulled a thin notebook from her tote bag. Her own ledger was worn at the edges and filled with measurements, emergency repairs, and delivery confirmations. At 1:18, "I got a call to fix a ripped sleeve on a councilman's coat." "You came in?" "I always come in." She opened to a page marked with red thread. "I signed the storage receipt at 1:31. The jacket was on the rack. Not this jacket." Nico looked again at the official entry. "Someone swapped it in 19 minutes. 18. Marisol tapped the clock. "The courier entry is false. The jacket went through the service lift and came back before I arrived." Nico's phone vibrated. He read the screen and the color left his face. "What is it?" Marisol asked. He handed her the phone. It was the board agenda for the gala. The final item read, "Emergency confidence vote on the Bellini family trust." Marisol looked from the words to the altered lining. The jacket had never been the target. It was the invitation. And someone wanted Nico wearing it when the vote began. Nico read the agenda twice. Then he set his phone on the archive table. "Who receives the vote?" Marisol looked at the list. 3 trustees and 2 operating partners. That is enough if Luca has already convinced them you cannot control your own house. He took the official ledger and the altered hymn. "Can you prove Luca handled either one?" "No." "Can you prove someone with his access did? Not from this alone." "Then we need more." Marisol shook her head. "We need less." He frowned. "Less? One clear thing." She placed the blue-green silk on the black table. "Too many records become an argument. This is a garment." She pointed to the original stitch. "It tells us the old jacket was cut open." She pointed to the replacement. "It tells us a new lining was put in." She pointed to the false courier time. "It tells us someone needed the storage room empty. By the gala, I need to know who could order all 3. Nico stared at the thread. "Only Luca and I can override the storage log." "Could you have done it?" "No." "Then do not make me say his name before I can prove it." The archive door opened. Luca stood there with 2 board assistants behind him. His shirt sleeves were immaculate. He was no longer pretending to be friendly. "Nico," he said, "we need to talk." "We are talking," Nico answered. Luca looked at Marisol. "I was told there had been an irregularity in the gala wardrobe." "There was," she said. "And you discovered it?" "Yes, after the garment passed through your room. After it came back to my room. Your ledger is handwritten. Your storage receipt is unsigned by a supervisor. Your access to the atelier is unrestricted." Marisol felt each sentence land where Luca wanted it. Not on evidence, on reputation. A woman who worked late. A woman who kept her own notes. A woman who belonged near the clothes but never near the records. Luca looked at the assistants. "Until this is resolved, I recommend that Ms. Reyes be removed from gala work." "No," Nico said. The word came too quickly, too protectively. Marisol turned toward him. He saw his mistake immediately. He had made the decision she had not asked him to make. Luca smiled. "There is the problem." "What problem?" Nico asked. "You cannot tell the difference between loyalty and sentiment." Marisol picked up the garment bag. "Then let us make it simple." She looked at Nico. "I am not asking you to save my job. I am asking for the same standard you would use for anyone else." Then she faced Luca. "Seal the storage room. Freeze the delivery system. Give me access to the original garments in your father's archive." Luca's smile vanished. "That archive is not relevant." "It is the only thing relevant." Nico's attention sharpened. "Why?" "Because the blue-green silk came from an original Bellini garment. If I find the source code, I can show exactly what was removed." Luca stepped closer. "You are overreaching." "No," Marisol said. "I am measuring." Nico turned to his assistant. "Seal storage. Pull the legacy garments. Give Ms. Reyes access to the archive." Luca's voice hardened. "You are giving a seamstress access to private family property?" Nico did not look at him. "I am giving Marisol access to evidence." The legacy archive occupied a basement room beneath the old ballroom. The air carried the dry smell of wool that had outlived the people who once wore it. Antonio Bellini had marked every private garment inside the left hem with river glass silk. Marisol checked one coat after another. Each had the same old hand stitch. Then she found the fourth coat on the third rack. The left hem had been opened and resewn. The new thread was bright black. It had been made yesterday. She did not need a microscope. She needed her fingers. The seam was too stiff. The silk strip was missing, and the place where it had once been held a faint line of pale chalk. Luca had cut the coat after the archive inventory was updated. He knew nobody would come looking until the gala. A soft knock sounded at the basement door. "Ms. Reyes?" It was Nico's executive assistant. She held out a cream envelope. "This was delivered for you." Inside was a card from Celeste Armand, the New York couture director who had visited the atelier 2 months earlier. The message was written in black ink. "Your talent deserves a house that knows your name. The offer is still open. Call before midnight." She could leave Chicago before Luca turned an accusation into a permanent stain. She could leave before Nico's regret became another beautiful promise that changed nothing. The assistant watched her face. "Is that good news?" Marisol slid the card back into its envelope. It could be. When she returned upstairs, Nico was waiting outside the archive. He noticed the coat in her hands. "You found it. I found what was taken." He started to reach for it. Marisol held it closer. "Not here." "Why?" "Because Luca has people listening in rooms where he does not belong." Nico looked down the corridor, then back at her. "What do you want to do?" She hated how hard that question was to trust. "Build the proof slowly. Keep the gala on schedule. Let him believe he has me isolated. That puts you at risk. It puts your apprentices at risk if he wins." Nico stepped closer, but stopped before he crossed the line between them. "If you want out, I will make sure you get out. Out of the building. Out of this family's business." "I have an offer in New York," she said. Nico's face went still. "You should take it." The answer hurt more than it should have. Not because it was cruel, because it was honest. "You would let me leave?" "I would not ask you to stay because I need you. I have already taken too much from people by assuming their work belongs to me." For the first time that day, she believed he understood. Then the apprentice from the atelier came running down the corridor. Her eyes were red. "Mr. Luca told us to clear our stations. He said the gala work is being transferred." Marisol looked at Nico. The freedom she wanted was waiting in a cream envelope. The people who trusted her were being pushed out before Luca had to answer for anything. She folded the New York card into her palm. "Do not cancel the gala," she said. "Let him set the table." Nico watched her. "What are you going to do?" Marisol picked up Antonio Bellini's altered coat. "I am going to make sure everyone sees what he stitched into your family." At 9, the orchestra fell silent. Before dinner, there is an item on the board agenda. Luca Bellini rose from the head table, an emergency confidence vote. "Recent irregularities in our gala operations raise serious questions about oversight," he said. "I believe this family requires stable leadership before its reputation is damaged further." Nico looked at him. "And who would you suggest?" Luca smiled. "I will serve if the board believes I can restore confidence." Teresa Valli, the oldest trustee, leaned forward. "Is there evidence of an internal breach?" "There is," Nico said. Luca's eyes narrowed. "And who has it?" Nico turned toward the ballroom doors. "Marisol Reyes has the floor." Marisol stepped into the open space, wearing the dark blue gown she had sewn for herself. She carried Antonio Bellini's old navy coat and a narrow black case. Rosa, her apprentice, placed a wooden stand before the trustees. Luca saw the coat. The color left his face. Marisol laid it across the stand. "My name is Marisol Reyes. I am the master seamstress at Bellini Atelier. For 16 years, I have restored the garments this family wears when it wants the world to believe it is prepared." She opened the case and raised a strip of blue-green silk. "Cloth remembers. This is riverglass silk." Teresa looked toward it. "And this came from Nico's jacket?" "No." Marisol turned the left hem of Antonio's coat toward the room. "It came from here. This coat was inventoried 3 weeks ago. The silk was intact. Yesterday, someone opened this seam, removed the marker, and resealed it with bright black machine thread. She set Nico's altered lining beside it. Then that marker was put inside Nico's gala jacket." A murmur moved through the ballroom. Luca folded his arms. "This is theater." Marisol looked at him. "No, this is tailoring." She pointed to the 2 seams. "One is hand-finished. One is machine-finished. One has 30 years of wear. One was done yesterday." Only a person with override access to the archive and the storage log could remove the silk, alter the jacket, and create the false courier entry that hid the swap. She held up a curled end of black thread. "I found this caught beneath the original hem. It matches the thread in Nico's altered lining. The same color, the same finish, the same rushed hand." Marisol turned to the trustees. Mr. Bellini and Luca Bellini are the only people who can override both records. Mr. Bellini has no reason to destroy his own confidence before a vote. Luca does. Luca stepped forward. This proves nothing. It proves you froze the gala files, Marisol said. It proves you called for a confidence vote before anyone announced an irregularity. It proves you tried to remove the one person who could identify the alteration. Luca gave a thin laugh. She is an employee. She has access. She has motive. Marisol nodded. I had access because I was trusted to keep the atelier functioning when other people were too important to notice it. I wanted my apprentices paid and our work not erased. But I had no path to a confidence vote. She lifted the silk again. Luca did. Rosa handed Marisol's envelope to the head server. A minute later, sealed packets appeared before every trustee. Marisol faced the trustees. I need you to compare their timing. Luca created the false courier entry. Then he approved a transfer of Bellini's largest formal wear and hospitality contracts to a company under his temporary authority. He wanted you to call it stability. It was a transfer of power before he earned it. Teresa opened her packet. The operating partners did the same. No one spoke for several long seconds. Then Teresa looked at Luca. Did you order the lock on the gala records? Luca did not answer. Did you authorize the courier entry? Another trustee asked. Again. Luca said nothing. Teresa rose from her chair. The confidence vote is suspended. The supplier transfers are frozen. Luca Bellini's access is revoked pending an independent audit. Security appeared at the ballroom doors and waited. Luca turned toward Marisol. For the first time, he saw her clearly. Not an employee, not a target. The woman who had ended his plan with a strip of silk he was too careless to understand. You will regret this, he said. Marisol closed the case. No. I spent too long regretting things I did not cause. Luca left without applause. Then the trustees began asking Marisol about the archive and delivery chain. For once, nobody interrupted her answers. Nico stayed near enough to make sure the room listened, but he let her own it. After the guests had gone, Nico found Marisol folding Antonio's coat in the empty ballroom. He placed a document folder on the table. What is that? She asked. An offer. I already have one. I know. That is why it is an offer. She opened the folder. Bellini Atelier would become an independent company. Marisol would hold half ownership. She would have a board seat, final approval over vendors, control over hiring, and a rule that no employee could be removed through a financial order without operational review. Her name would be on the door. You did not have to do this, she said. I did. No, Marisol closed the folder. You had to apologize. This is different. Nico held her gaze. I am not asking you to stay. I am correcting the structure that made it easy to overlook you. If you go to New York, this remains yours. If you stay, it is still yours. Marisol thought of the cream envelope in her bag. I need time. You have it. And I will not answer because you nearly lost your family tonight. I would not accept one for that reason. She placed the contract beside the New York offer. Tomorrow, I will call Celeste. I will tell her I am considering two futures. One has my name on the door. The other might have your name at my table. Nico looked at her carefully. Only if you choose the table. Then ask properly, would you have dinner with me tomorrow? Not to discuss the atelier. Not to discuss the board. Just dinner. Marisol smiled. Yes, but I choose the restaurant. You choose everything you need to choose. She slipped the coat over her arm and walked toward the ballroom doors. Nico fell into step beside her. Not ahead of her. Not behind her. Beside her. And for the first time in 16 years, the woman from the back room did not have to raise her voice for the right people to hear her. If you were Marisol, would you take the New York offer, stay to build Bellini Atelier, or make them earn the right to wait for your answer?